Nothing like a peaceful family birthday celebration in the middle of the ocean, right? Well, not for Tom, the oceanographer, who decided to teach his son Ben how to fish while his wife Julia, a doctor, and daughter Cassie enjoyed the sun. Everything was fine until Julia decided to take a swim and realized something was wrong with the water. Perhaps it was the fact that she was being dragged away from the boat by an invisible current. Meanwhile, on the boat, the compass starts going haywire, but who needs directions in the middle of the sea, right? Julia, now in a panic, tries to swim back, but the current has other plans. Her cries for help are as effective as whispering in a storm. Finally, Tom realizes something is wrong. Perhaps his oceanographer instincts were a bit slow, and rescues Julia, who almost drowns. After the scare, Tom offers the tip of the day. If you want to swim, let me know first. Fun fact about the movie: it was filmed entirely on real ocean locations, enhancing the realism of the perilous sea scenes. That night, the family celebrates Ben's 13th birthday with gifts ranging from a laptop to a Halloween mask. Because nothing says happy birthday like a creepy mask. Julia gives Ben a bracelet to ward off evil spirits, which, considering the events that follow, turns out to be quite practical. Cassie gets a call from her boyfriend, but a storm interrupts the connection. Suddenly, whales crash the party surrounding the boat. Tom, ever the optimist, assures everyone it's normal. Of course, who hasn't had whales nudging their boat on a family trip? Tom decides to investigate and injures himself on the boat's propeller. The result? Damaged propellers and a boat adrift. With no communication and the engine out of order, the family finds themselves stranded in the middle of nowhere. Objects begin falling from the sky, satellites plummeting from orbit. Tom, with his autopilot-like reflexes, manages to dodge one before the engine finally gives out completely. As if things couldn't get worse, a high-pitched noise causes Julia to bleed from her nose and Cassie to vomit. The entire family suffers from the mysterious sound. Tom, in a last heroic effort, lights a flare in hopes of rescue, but no one comes. They spend the night on the boat, which, by morning, decides the ocean floor is a great place to anchor. Tom discovers the compass is more confused than he is, suggesting the magnetic poles might have reversed. Cassie, realizing this means her boyfriend likely became sushi, breaks down in tears. Ben, ever the resourceful one, ties balloons to the sky in hopes someone will notice. Tom manages to contact Nowo, a submariner who informs them that the pole reversal caused the ocean to pull a Houdini and disappear. The good news? It will all return to normal in a week. The bad news? Nowo's submarine only has room for 3 people, and he's already counting himself. After much pleading, Nowo agrees to rescue the children, and the family prepares for a 2 to 3 day journey to the rendezvous point. Along the way, they encounter a man with a dog. Tom, always the gracious host, offers water but ends up attacked and killed by the man, who clearly skipped etiquette class. Julia, in full mama bear mode, hides the kids and confronts the attacker. After a series of action movie-worthy events, including killing the man's dog in self-defense and some creative use of a flare gun, Julia and the kids escape. They mourn Tom's loss but have little time to grieve as the man continues to pursue them. An interesting reflection. In moments of crisis, it's vital to stay calm and assess the situation before acting impulsively. For example, upon encountering a stranger in the middle of nowhere, it might be wise to keep your distance and observe before approaching with offers of water. What would you do in this situation? The family continues their journey, with the mysterious man chasing them like a determined tax collector. When Ben decides it's a great idea to inspect dead hammerhead sharks, because who doesn't love an odd hobby during a chase? Julia realizes their pursuer is close. Fleeing in panic, they stumble upon a pile of toxic waste. They take a brief pause so Julia can give Ben what's left of their water. There's just one problem. The bottle was full. Cassie swears she forgot to close it, but Julia, at the peak of maternal patience, switches to angry mom mode. Cassie fires back, saying they're doomed anyway, and a bottle of water won't save the day. The result? A collective shouting match, followed by stoic resignation. Life goes on because the show must go on. At the next stop, a sunken plane, the family decides to explore. Julia finds the last family photo and breaks down, reminiscing about how Tom was the kind of guy who could solve a Sudoku puzzle without clues. While the family sleeps, Cassie steps out for some air because family drama is exhausting. But surprise, the pursuer appears and falls into a trap more elaborate than a lost episode. Julia, ninja-like, finishes him off. By morning, they discover the body has been partially eaten. Julia, ever the optimist, concludes there's something worse out there. The message: when you think you've hit rock bottom, the bottom digs deeper. Later, Ben, showing survival is not his forte, decides to drink contaminated saltwater. Julia stops him, but it's too late. He falls ill. While treating Ben, a crab apocalypse unfolds. The family runs, but the crabs climb containers and devour the poor souls inside. Julia gets bitten but patches the wound with an improvised bandage. She survives because the protagonist never dies in the second act. After waking up alone, Julia finds her kids amid a sandstorm. They grab weapons from the fallen and sterilize wounds with survivalist methods worthy of a hardcore manual. Eventually, they find food, water, and a radio. Julia contacts Nowo, who promises to drop a flare. The family, in search of the light at the end of the tunnel, literally, heads toward a submarine. However, their grand entrance is interrupted by a rock slide that separates Julia from the kids. Despite her wound, Julia insists the children go on without her, showcasing the timeless appeal of heroic drama. Cassie, defying orders, returns to save Julia. Meanwhile, the crabs decide Julia is the main course. After a desperate run, they reach the submarine. The crabs' grand finale turns cinematic. The creatures surround the sub, but fail to get in. The family, exhausted and filled with flashbacks, emerges in a destroyed coastal city. What was once a tourist paradise is now a domain for seagulls and shattered dreams. The takeaway? Surviving is just the beginning. What would you have done differently? Avoid drinking contaminated water like Ben? Or come up with a better crab trap than leaky containers? If you were Julia, what would you have done to ensure your family's survival in a world where even the crabs are against you? Let me know in the comments. See you in the next video.
And I gotta tell you, it was perfect. Perfect.